relationship. Or when
Hey everyone, can you hear us?
all of a sudden she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna like pay attention to you because you're challenged me."
Yeah. You sure that.
I thought.
No, because that's not.
Video too.
Alina, right?
Yeah. Anyway, I was really upset because I saw like. And I was like, oh, I feel so bad because I would have liked to have gone.
Yeah, no, it was just, I mean, it was.
Someone online confirm if you can hear us.
Yep, I can hear you.
Yes. Eric says thumbs up.
Right?
No, you don't have to.
Thank you.
It's not city services. You don't have to sit there.
Yeah, I'll give it.
City services. Sit at the end of the table so we can grill you. To me.
Hello.
Everyone.
Wait, did you go? I'm obsessed with you. Good.
Lisa, of all the dates to be virtual.
I'm not looking. There.
I'll tell you, the last one was my brother's father.
Nice.
Kind of like, I could tell you somewhere about this district, so I don't really know if it even matters.
So sign in.
I'm not.
Voila.
All right, I think we have quorum, so we can probably get started. Thanks for joining, everyone. Appreciate it. This is our Land Use and Housing Committee joint meeting with the Parks Committee. So we're going to start off with the NYC Parks ULURP application before we get to all the other land use stuff. So just as a reminder, we've heard from Parks a number of times now about this ULURP application. They came to our committee meeting. They were at the board meeting last time. So we've got the presentation a couple of times. What we want to do today is see if we have any questions for Parks. Get those answered, and then we want to make our ULURP recommendation for the full board meeting next time. So why don't I open it up to any questions that people might have for the Parks Department? I see that Jules is on that. Any open issues?
I guess I just have one clarifying question. It's like, what is your guys' intention with like circulating to other communities with this process? Like, I imagine it will take like a long time, but does this particularly like preclude us from being involved in these kinds of things again? Like, is that something that should be considered? I'm just curious how you guys are going about this citywide as a process.
I'm happy to try to explain. So I wouldn't say it precludes anything really from happening in the future. If there's any site that comes up and it's not included in this ULURP, we can always just seek authority to acquire the property in a different ULURP. So I wouldn't say it like limits you in that way. But with regard to other communities, we, at the very beginning of this process, we identified which 19 community boards were going to be involved in this initiative. And that was a combination of looking at some of the open space density by community board. We looked at poverty levels, and there were a couple other factors, if you remember, Colleen, but it was, we looked at a lot of things, and that's how we identified the 19.
Yeah, I'll just add that we looked at every community district across the city and by a set of metrics, and 19 districts met our metrics. And it was, we looked at open space ratio, the density of unserved population, and poverty. And 19 sort of met those criteria. And we've gone through ULURP for 2 community boards so far. This is our 3rd one. And we aspire to go through all of those districts, trying to look to the ones basically in greatest need And we're working with city planning because if you can imagine having 19 individual community district applications before certifying is just a lot. So we're trying to tackle it, working with our colleagues at city planning and like rolling through them. So this is the third ULURP at the community district scale. And it's informed by, the first two that we took through and how the city planning commission viewed that, et cetera. Does that answer your question? I just want to make
Yeah.
sure I
Yeah,
got
that's
it
great.
right.
Thank you. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, at the full board meeting, there were two owners who, indicated that they don't want to be on this list. What are you doing with them?
We're not doing anything right now. We brought it to the attention of city planning. And I think that, I had a couple of property owners contact me because as we mentioned, we're required to send letters to every property owner included in our ULURP before there's a public hearing. So we did that and, I got a couple of, I got one phone call from one owner just asking questions. Another owner, not interested in selling, was just curious, how their site met the criteria. So I explained we weren't just looking at vacant sites, we're also looking at underutilized, meaning from a zoning standpoint, not that the site is not being used. So I think that owner who had a site, I think he spoke virtually at the public hearing. And I spoke with that owner and I told him I would take note. And but right now we're not taking sites out of our ULURP application. We haven't done that.
So could, in the recommendation, can we indicate to exclude those? Just so everyone is aware that there
I
are
don't think they
owners
can
who.
edit an ULURP application at this.
No, not the, I'm sorry, in our recommendation.
But why are you recommending that?
Yeah, what's one of the exclusion? What
Because
would
they
be?
indicated they don't want to be on the list. They're gonna have a hearing with their name is gonna, their site is gonna continue to follow through this process where they clearly indicated they don't want to be on the list.
But something, things can change over the next however amount of
I
time.
Yeah,
guess,
they can
if I was
sell
the
their
owner,
someone and there's a new property owner,
Yeah,
you know?
okay.
And they can
then
just, if they don't wanna,
If you don't want to do that, say, no.
I feel like
Fine.
their like request was them thinking that we're like forcing them to do something.
Yeah,
yeah,
It's not
they
being
just
forced.
don't have to sell, they don't need
Yeah,
money.
it's up to them.
Yeah. Any other comments? Or questions?
I appreciate how thorough this investigation has been and
Yeah.
how much you've been willing to come and talk to us and take our feedback and all of that.
Yeah, thank you. So I think at this point, we should probably vote on our recommendation and decide if we want any conditions. So is there any condition that we would want added to our vote? It seems like we're all pretty favorable. The one thing that we are gonna do is that Carlos and I wrote a letter requesting capital funding for this. So we'll send that alongside our recommendation to the electeds. But is there anything else we want to?
Somehow nod to that in the recommendation or
Sure, yeah.
just because, I mean, New York State and city classic, unfunded mandates everywhere.
But, one area that we have continued to talk about and still doesn't show up, I mean, in terms of the sites, is South Sunnyside. Well, I mean, I guess, I don't know if we want to make any comments that prioritize areas that we feel remain especially needed.
Do we have any edits to their methodology, though? It seems like they cast a wide net and that just was what it was.
No, only that we hope they'll continue looking for opportunity in these particular areas. I don't know, that would be the only.
And come to us,
Yeah.
for discussion about.
It seems like they're already doing that, and there just weren't any properties that match their qualifications in those areas, but we can say that, certain areas are a specific focus for us and just give it out to that.
Yeah, just so keep it a record, like Daniel was saying, that we have requested.
Right.
there-
We
are there
hope
any
that in the
areas-
future Other solutions.
Are there any areas that we want to list here? I feel like we have a list, areas that we don't list are gonna feel left out, because our entire district needs more parks.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking, I mean, this, I don't know if you can, how much you
Yeah.
can read this, but this swath of South Sunnyside and then this section. Of Woodside.
I just worry that if we
Are-
call
are
them
you-
out
and-
specifically, other areas are gonna be upset.
They just seem, they're the biggest chunks of land that are currently, not meeting any of the walk to park criteria. And so in that sense, they're kind of the biggest chunks.
What if we,
of park
what if we say
acceptance.
generally, like, to continue closing gaps that, like, exist? Do we wanna list out,
Well, is that
open
some-
other feedback too?
Is that something they can do if they're all, it's, this action already has very specific
Yeah,
sites, so.
But I think it's like this process is like. It's only one part of something, like, it doesn't solve all the problems that we have. But like, we support this process and we want to.
Yeah,
move it forward. I think, but it's like. We think this is a good idea and we support it, however, there's more that can be done. Outside of this process.
and
To
there are,
improve
and there are
parkway.
specific areas that are really, where this
Yeah.
process yielded no
Yeah,
potential
exactly.
sites, and we hope
Cool.
that those areas can continue to be.
And could it be, can this
Investigated.
process continue on once we see results? Like, can we do another round of this? Because I know right now this is like a 10-year. Without any, like, just sort of saying like, hey, we like this, can we keep going?
Yeah, but you could indicate the same way that Tom advocates for Blissville. You could continue to advocate for South Sunnyside particularly in this study. Or places like Lake Vernon. I mean, there are places that are just,
Oh, see it.
yes, right, but the OCA side did.
I thought Lake Vernon got filled in.
Yeah, Lake Vernon has been filled in, so that's
still true.
probably,
Right,
So
but
they
it's,
got
yeah,
that.
it's dry.
But the
Always
OCA side has been completely fallow, nothing, and actually, Sheila sent an email to a few of us basically pointing out that, they got their, FAR there,
Right,
and haven't really met either end of the bargain.
no,
cool. Any other thoughts before we go to a vote? All right, so the committee's recommendation as it stands is to approve this Euler. Conditions are gonna be, a nod to the capital funding that we're gonna elaborate in our letter. And then also, some language about, let's do more outside this process, specifically in the areas where this process yielded no sites. Flush that out.
The areas of greatest need for this process, I think that's important to say.
Awesome. All right, I don't think this needs to be roll call. All in favor?
Is this, just a question, is this coming just from land use or land use and?
I think because this is officially part of the ULURP process and the way we do ULURP is through land use, it would probably come from land use, but we can say that our support
It
is
seems like
too.
part-
I don't really care,
Yeah.
whatever the process is, fine.
Okay,
As
Well-
long, I mean, it's not gonna, the outcome.
yeah, it's not a controversial one. Cool, all in favor? Is there anyone who's opposed?
anyone abstain?
Anyone abstaining? Brad, go ahead. Is that an abstention?
I'm in favor. I'm in favor.
Okay, cool. Good enough. Cool, thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. So we will discuss this with the full board in the next board meeting. And thanks to Park for joining and all your efforts here. Feel free to drop at this point if you'd like.
Thank you. Thank you for your support and interest in this. Much appreciated.
Great. And are you gonna be at the full board meeting next time?
If I think it's on our calendar. Happy
Okay,
to
it'll be a
do
similar
whatever.
process to this, where we're gonna just present our recommendation and then maybe have a little discussion and a vote.
But it's
Okay.
public hearing, right?
It is a
Because,
public hearing.
so there could,
It could be questions.
right, so Raphael, are you kind of familiar with it being a public hearing?
No, but
I think we,
figure it out, yeah.
yeah.
It's also the
That's a-
9th
Yeah.
that's not gonna say.
Yeah, that's up to
Oh,
you.
really?
Yeah.
Holiday. Multiple holidays.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Everybody needs to know the name.
Yeah, I think, yeah, maybe
That's right.
talk that, and that's all,
Absolutely.
we have to do some notification.
Yeah. We'll do it. Thanks.
All right, next up, we have the New York City School Construction Authority. Are you all on?
Hi, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Hey, yes. How's it
Okay, perfect.
Joining?
I can share my screen, if that's possible. I know I also sent it to Raphael, I think, so whatever
Yes.
is easier.
Is Zoom letting you request?
Yeah, I just requested it.
I can get it
so-
done. No, no, can do it. Oh, sweet.
You just-
Okay, I think I got it. So let me know if you can see.
Yeah.
You can see it? Okay, perfect. All right. 1 second. Okay, so before I start, I do want to acknowledge that the VP of External Affairs is also on, Andrea Bender. And hi, everyone. My name is Julie Kim, and I'm the External Affairs Manager for Queens North. Thank you for having us here today. As is required by the site selection process, I am here to present a location that will add seats to high schools. The proposed site is at 47-51 33rd Street. We sent the notice of filing on March 9th to the community board, which you should have received. And I am also required to read it.
Make it full screen.
So pursuant to Section 1731 of the New York City School Construction Authority Act, notice has been filed for the proposed site selection of all or portions of Block 251, Lot 1, and any other nearby sites for the construction of a new approximately 676-seat high school facility with a D75 program in Queens. The proposed site is located at 47-51 33rd Street on the north side of 48th Avenue between 33rd Street and 34th Street in the Long Island City neighborhood of Queens. The site is currently occupied by a 3-story warehouse building. The proposed site to be acquired by the New York City School Construction Authority on behalf of the New York City Department of Education is an approximately 36,750 square foot, 0.84 acre lot. The site plan and supplemental materials summarizing the proposed action are available at New York City School Construction Authority, 25-01 Jackson Avenue, Long Island City, to the attention of Kelly Murphy, Senior Director of Real Estate Services. You can also find it on our website, nycsca.org/community/new school sites. Comments on the proposed action are to be submitted to the New York City School Construction Authority at the above address or by email to sites@nycsca.org and will be accepted until April 28th, 2026. So the SCA public process for its site selection is as follows. We are required to present school real estate sites to the local community board and community education council before moving forward. There will be a 45-day public comment period on the sites commenced on March 9th, 2026 and ends on April 28th. Formal comments can be shared through mail and through email. So today's presentation just focuses on the site itself rather than specifics about the school facility at this juncture. We do not have design details to share. Seat need and proposed site, we are proposing to build a new approximately 676-seat high school. And the proposed site again is approximately 36,750 square feet. And the process includes environmental review and engagement with city agencies such as DOT, DEP, and FDNY before going to the city council for final approval. Here is a kind of like an aerial view of the proposed new high school. You can see that it's between 33rd Street and 34th Street and 47th Avenue and 48th Avenue. These are just showing the lot numbers as well as just another view of where the proposed location is. Just to reiterate, comments on This site can be emailed to sites@newyorkcitysca.org. So sites@newyorkcitysca.org. I am realizing that maybe this blue is a little hard to see, but I can make sure to send this to you. And I have sent this to Raphael already. And comments on the site can also be mailed again to New York City School Construction Authority. If you have any other questions or ongoing projects questions, you can contact me, Julie Kim at jkim5@nycsca.org. And our Department of Education contact is Emily Glavin at eglavin3@schools.nyc.gov. So I'm going to stop sharing at this moment and open the floor up for questions.
So Julie, just to clarify, this is not a ULURP application or anything like that. Your obligation to us is just like an FYI notification and to collect comments.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So if I could just jump in, SCA as a public authority is ULURP exempt. So this is our process for site selection following the public authorities law. So we post our notice of filing, we present to the Community Education Council of Jurisdiction. In this case, that's CCHS, as this is proposed to be a high school site, and we present to the community board during the public comment period. We would love comments from the board, and then we present the site to City Council at the conclusion of all of our analysis, and assuming we receive a favorable vote at City Council, we can close on the property and proceed with design of the school. So we have our own sort of land use process.
Got it. So at this point in the process, you're already well into negotiation with the property owner. They've agreed to sell, and all you need now is City Council approval.
Yes, we don't take sites to the public without having a negotiation, a successful, at least, we don't go to communities without a contract with a seller. There's just too many ways for things to go sideways.
Got it. Makes sense. Thank you. All right, let's open it up, Christine.
Just for my own, just to confirm, D75 is, I don't know if this is a PC way to say, but it's basically a special ed high school. Is that correct? What is D75?
District 75 is the special education district for special education students. This project is proposed to have 96 seats for District 75. The remaining seats would be general education seats.
Oh, so it will be a mixed school.
Correct.
Okay, and is it replacing an existing high school facility, or what is the
Sure. So SCA's role here is to acquire the property and construct the school. DOE ultimately makes the determination for how the building might be used.
So you can't comment on the perceived need for the school in this location?
Well, we have a need for high school seats across Queens. So.
Cool. All right, Danielle.
So I am also co-chair of the City Services Committee that approves cannabis license. Should we be taking this into account and like turning away anybody who wants to be within 500 feet of this location at this point, or should we wait? Because that's the law, just so you know, they can't be near a school, but I don't think OCM would know that, so.
I cannot answer that question because at this point in time, we do not own the property. And while we are hopeful that we will close on the property later this year, I cannot answer that question.
Okay. But it's good for me to know. Thank you.
Let's go to Teresa from Julie Wan's office.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Andrea, I just want to quickly flag, this isn't, I think this is like a Google issue. When you type in 47-51 33rd Street, for some reason into Google, it like automatically like changes it to be a location in like Astoria that's 3547 33rd Street near the Museum of the Moving Image. So like with the dash, when I type it in, it just automatically does that. So it's kind of glitchy with Google. Just to clarify, did this already come up at the CEC meeting, this past CEC meeting? Or is this going to be presented to the CEC meeting?
This was presented to CCHS, who is the CEC of jurisdiction for this high school site at last
Got it.
week's CEC meeting.
Okay, great. And we did get the notice as well. Just looking at it on the map and its proximity to Aviation High School and just some of the other like LaGuardia. So I guess I'll follow up directly with you about additional questions that we might have about this site.
Sure.
Yeah, Lisa.
The entity you said you presented to, is that a local geographic entity? The CECs are, you know, usually neighborhood based, so I don't know what the high school entity is.
Sure. So the Citywide Council on High Schools is a citywide CEC that has jurisdiction and oversight. It's the equivalent of CEC 30, CEC 24. It's a citywide body that has jurisdiction of all high schools citywide.
So the local CECs might not have been informed.
Correct, because the superintendent of high schools is different than the superintendent of PSIS. So this school is in geographic district 24, but the superintendent of district 24 will not have jurisdiction over this school, which is why we present it to CCHS.
Understood, thank you. They should be invited to the, if we have a hearing about this evening.
Yeah. Cool. Any other comments or questions?
I have one more. So one thing that was noted a lot in the one LIC recent process is that the recent public schools that have been built have had little to no outdoor space. And I'm wondering if I know you don't have a design yet, but in your assumptions about the zoning, I mean, you must have done a zoning and massing analysis to come up with a student body estimate. And the size of school, was there an assumption that there would be any outdoor recreation, any outdoor athletic facilities?
Athletic facilities, I do not believe that this parcel is large enough to support an athletic facility. I do believe that there is some outdoor at-grade space for the students. But this is a high school and the requirements for outdoor space for high school students are a little bit different than, a lot different than the lower grades.
Were there any requirements for outdoor, for
high schools are not required to include outdoor play space, but I do believe that our current site plan does propose some outdoor play space. Again, that's all subject to design.
Are you referring to the little plaza in front that has some trees kind of adjacent to the building?
So we don't have a design for the building yet. So we did a conceptual site plan to ensure that a school can be constructed on the property, but nothing that you're seeing in the site selection deck is a rendering or an image of any kind of proposed school. We don't have a design yet.
Any other questions or comments? Yes.
How many years does it generally take to go from acquiring a property to opening a school?
Sure. So it generally takes us about a year to get through our acquisition process. We're at the very beginning stages of that. And we are approximately a year in design and then 3 to 4, depending on the constraints of the site in construction.
Anything else? All right, well, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. We'll circulate the deck to the board and encourage people to submit comments.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Cool. All right. Bagel, I see that you're on. I think it's time for the DCP section.
Hello. Yeah. Sorry, I'm on virtually.
All good. Welcome. You want to go first, or do you want me to go through the items that I have?
Yeah, let's go through the items one by one.
Cool. All right, the first thing I have is the certified ULURP application at 2131 46th Avenue. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So that's an application. It's the TD Bank in Long Island City. It's just went through a rezoning, certified through a rezoning. The applicant, I believe, is coming to the land use committee meeting next month, and will present to the full board based on the recommendation of the land use committee. The following month, the ULURP clock for that, I believe, ends in May 13th, if I remember correctly.
May 11th.
May 11th. Okay, perfect. But yeah. The applicant should be here to answer any questions next week. Do you guys have any questions now?
No immediate questions. Yeah, I know we've been talking about this one for a while, so I'm glad it's finally before us officially.
Okay.
Was the community board notified? Did you get something in the mail?
I think I was forwarded something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, thanks for. And if you could just double check that the developer is coming next month. to our
Absolutely.
meeting,
I'll
That
follow
would be
up.
great. Thank you. All right, Faye, well, the next thing I have is the 50-02 Queens Boulevard rezoning.
Yeah. So I saw that you had written that it was a recently filed application. I don't know if this was a typo. There was a recently filed application also for 5001 Queens Boulevard. There's two projects right next to each other. 5002 Queens Boulevard is on their sixth filed land use application. I believe that's going to certify sometime soon. They're getting pretty close to being done. And 5001 recently filed their first filed land use application. I can't really give you an estimate on when we think that will certify because the environmental is not wrapped up the way that the other project is. So you'll see two projects that will look exactly the same come before you sometime within the next several months, but they are two different projects.
Got it, good to know. Just FYI, the zoning application portal only has the 5002, and it's saying that that one was filed March 11th, so there might be some duplication going on, or lack of duplication.
The 5001 is the Boston, what was Boston Market, is that it?
Yes, that's the Boston Market.
That's the more recent one.
Yes, 5002 is the PC Richardson across
Right.
the street.
It's
Yeah.
much bigger.
Yes.
All right, thanks for that. We also got a notification of a UAP project, 43, 42, 43rd Street. I know this is just an FYI, you aren't supposed to do anything with it, but I was wondering if you had any additional information about that.
What's you?
Yeah, so I saw this on the agenda item and I got curious myself about these UAP projects. DCP doesn't get notified when a project goes through the UAP process because it's as of right. I believe community boards get notices that it's coming. But
Do you want to quickly explain what UAP is? It's the Universal
Sure.
Affordability Preference, a part of City of Yes.
yes, so Universal Affordability Program, where essentially a project is able to go through MIH without going through a rezoning. So any zoning that exists, you can build to 25% more floor area if you provide 25% of your units to be affordable, I believe under the MIH options that are already established. But it's as of right, it's something that anyone all over the city through City of Yes is able to tap into. And when those projects happen, HPD notifies the community board as an FYI. So that's the notice that you guys received.
Got it. Yeah, there's nothing for us to do, just wanted to let the committee know.
So that,
Yeah.
National Command,
Yeah,
so that's, they're basically, is it a building that's being taken down and then, developed past the previous FAR?
So I saw,
Above and beyond the previous FAR?
yeah, so I saw a news article from 2021 saying that there's plans for an 8-story building there. And I assume with the new UAP, they can just go a little bit higher in exchange for a little more affordability.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? That's subject to the lottery and everything. I mean, that's local preferences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's as if it was a normal MIH building without having to go through the rezoning. Yeah.
Cool. All right, other than that, the other two things that I have were just our regular recurring items. Are there any updates on either the HPD Hunters Point parcels or the DOE RFP?
Yeah, so I was able to get an HPD point of contact for you guys in the HPD Queens planning. I'll send over that email to you, Permeet. The finalists are being selected sometime soon, and I think HPD knows that you would like to hear an update about it once there's something to give an update on, and they'll come to the community board and talk about the developer selected.
Cool, sounds good.
And for the DOE building, there's no update right now.
Got it.
Did she share with the contact you?
The contact is Kevin Parrish. I can send the email.
Oh, yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, that's all I had for you, Pegula. Anyone else have?
All right.
for
Thank
Lucy?
you.
Cool, we were just flying through these. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the land use consultant exploration that we were doing. So I sent out an email to everyone with what I think are our next steps here. There's a few things that we need to do. And just as background, this is a consultant that we want to have on retainer. We have a very modest budget, so there's not too much that we can do. But we want to make sure that we identify someone that we can call on once there's something that needs analyzed. So we have a list of 6 people that we want to do some informal outreach to, just to understand a little bit about, you know, what the cost would be, what the arrangement might look like, just to engage in the model in general. So I think what I'd like to do is assign people to reach out to each of these folks and see if there's any volunteers who want to send out the emails or the phone calls. We have a draft scope written. So all this would entail is using the draft scope to reach out to the person and just get a sense of what their engagement model would be like. I know there are some people who have reached out to and have prior experience with some of these folks. So I would love for those folks to reach out to the people they already know. Like I think, I forget who was on the board. I think it might have been you who said you knew Bonnie Harkin.
Yeah.
So, do a lot of people know Bonnie Harkin?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So who wants to volunteer to reach out to Bonnie?
Worked on the waterfront.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, just to clarify for me, I'm
Yes.
sorry if this was clear on what you sent out. Are we specifying so we can compare apples to apples? Like, are we asking basically for an hourly rate? Or,
I think we don't even know what we're asking for at this point. So I would just love to talk to a few of these people and to see if they have similar arrangements with anyone else. Is it an hourly rate? Is it you just pay them like the annual fee as a retainer? And how much can we call them? Like, what are like even the specifications for an arrangement like this?
We know, for example, that Bonnie has worked on a contract. She worked on a contract with community board, and she's also working with LIC Coalition.
Yeah, and I'd love to know what a contract like that even looks like on her end. And if she'd be willing to talk,
Community board had a contract with.
our board did.
yeah, but those were specific reports and. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it
seems
wasn't
to
like
me
that.
that we should get hourly rates no matter what, because some of what we're gonna want is
Yeah.
gonna be. You
I
know,
wonder if she'd do that.
well, that's, I mean,
That's
that's
not-
sort of what we need to know.
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
because we don't. I mean, that's partly what, at least part of what we need is
Yeah.
kind of immediate
I
responses.
think what we need to understand is like typical hourly rates, like have they worked with community boards before? And what has that experience been like? You know, how many hours would it take if we asked them to review a ULURP application?
That's a hard thing. to
That
answer.
depends on.
Yeah.
All right,
I mean,
LIC
What else?
versus,
yes,
Right.
yes, yeah, fair.
Maybe we could just come up with like a handful of questions and then like, maybe like,
The first two were good.
Yeah,
Hourly.
okay, so we'll strike the third. Do they offer a retainer model or an on-call engagement model? Is that something they would even do? Can they do zoning diagrams? I know you wanted massing and images. Can they even do that for us?
They can.
And then what's their availability like? If we say, hey, we have this ULURP that we need to give feedback on in 60 days, will they turn that around? Or are they gonna say, hey, sorry, I'm too busy right now?
Right,
Like,
we need the feedback in 30 days.
Right,
So
that's what we can do something with it. So I think those are generally the questions I want asked and would love volunteers to reach out to some of these folks that they have prior relations with.
I think it also seems like there would be in 2 different ways of working with the board. One is, as we've done, like a very specific task and very specific focus. The other is kind of like, almost like, can we have someone on a kind of general consultation basis where.
Yep.
Throw a quick question out to them.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let me just go through this list really quick to see if anyone has relationships. If not, I can reach out to the rest. So Bonnie Harkin, who wants to reach out to Bonnie?
I'll reach out to, What, George James?
George James.
Yeah.
All right,
So I'll reach out to Bonnie.
great.
Who are the others?
Urban cartographers, you wanna know them? No, all right. I'll,
I can reach out to.
Yeah, I can also reach out to any of those, maybe I don't know.
all right, so the others are WXY Studio, BFJ Planning, or Park Strategies. You wanna know any of those?
Just a caution, right? WRX,
Yeah.
huge. They were the one, they did
One
one
LIC.
LIC on behalf of the
You're-
city,
you're-
so.
And they also did Flaxel.
Yeah, they're,
Right.
I don't know, I don't think they're like
You
your,
would feel uncomfortable with WXY because they are
they're
based
just a
in,
very large company,
Yeah.
not like a Bonnie Harkin. who-
And they're doing a lot of work for the city. That's what.
Mm.
got it. Okay, I mean, we have enough that we can strike them, so let's strike them.
I mean, I know someone at CARP, so reach out to them.
Sweet, let's give that to Brad. And then Tanya, do you want to take BFJ? All right, I'll get a thread going with the five of us and we can figure out exactly what fucking send over.
I have a question for you. Since that Bonnie is part of that group from the
Well,
waterfront resiliency,
Yeah.
don't you actually have any more experts there? Like there was an architect that had been doing like a study for 35 years of the waterfront and those areas.
Well, that was, I mean, Tom Payne,
Yeah.
but Tom doesn't do that kind of work. It's not, he's not that, he's a consultant, an environmental consultant. He's not really, he doesn't, and he's kind of retired. So,
Cool. All right, so I think we have our next steps there. The other thing we were talking about was academic or organizational partnerships that could help us for these like long-term semester-long studies. And the three programs that we identified there were the NYU Wagner Capstone Program, the NYU Camden School of Engineering, and the Pratt Center for Community Development. Does anyone have existing relationships with any of those?
You know someone at Wagner, right?
well, yeah, I mean, that was, we were. We were, before one LIC, we were set up to work with them on a consulting with NYU. And then, the council member wanted to go in a different direction in terms of, working. Oh, no, it was, I'm sorry, it wasn't one LIC. It was when we were working on the Northern Boulevard.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
we were working on Northern Boulevard, and we were gonna, NYU was gonna do the study, and they were really kind of set to do it. And then the council member wanted to go in a different direction, so she hired that company that went out of business.
Yeah.
I forget their name, but,
Hester Street.
Hester Street, so she hired Hester Street. So that, they really wanted to work with us.
I wonder if we would pick that back up because
That was, Matt Kawan.
if you want to forward, you're
I'll
not gonna be on
forward
board
the
anymore, are you?
No, but I'll
All right,
forward the.
yeah, if you want to forward that over to me, if you have that
Yeah.
thread too, if you can just forward the whole thread.
Yeah, they
to
were
me,
great.
That would be great.
And then Bonnie introduced us to a guy at Tandon, Manny Patoli, I think is his name, who, and they're more, I guess the difference between Tandon School and Wagner is Tandon is more engineering oriented.
Yeah.
And Wagner is more
Services.
traditional forms, I don't know, civic urban planning or
Correct.
something.
Doesn't Pratt have a whole?
And so Manny was very interested in working with us. And so that's two sides of NYU and two, you know,
Right, that was
departments
with
at
Bonnie
NYU.
too.
And then when Carlos and I, you know, worked with Pratt, I reached out to Pratt and they did that, you know, little study for us for one LIC. They kind of also encouraged us to come back to them. I have the name of their director. I
Yeah, if you
don't
want to
remember
forward
off
me
the top
both of
my
those
head.
threads, the one
Sure.
with Manny and the Pratt thread.
Yeah,
Does anyone want to volunteer on working with any of these folks?
Yeah, I'll reach out.
Tanya? All right,
but there must be other. I
There's
can't remember if
Hunter.
nothing at City
Hunter,
University.
yeah.
Hunter or
There's Hunter,
City.
this is Meadow.
yes, they have paper.
Yeah.
It's, Columbia.
What
Urban planning.
was that?
New
school. New school. Do we have any contacts at either Hunter or the new school?
Well, I teach it to this, but not
Oh,
in
you
the
really?
department.
I'm sure you could dig up somebody there.
Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna give that
I'll
one to
reach
you.
out.
Nice,
But we also have the Parsons architect program, so I could look at both.
great. All right, Maury, I'm giving that to you. Anyone have contacts at Hunter? Hey, I'll take that one then, see if I can take anyone out.
I know, I have a Facebook friend who went there. If you want, I can message her and see if she can, she graduated.
If you'd be up for it, yeah. Well,
The one other thing for me that has, this, the Urban Design Forum has fellows,
Urban Design Forum.
and those fellows are like volunteers that work on special projects and not somebody's, oh, okay. And I think, I know, for instance, that Community Board 5 Manhattan has a lot of people from there working on things for them. But what I've heard is that, you know, some of them are more experienced and useful than others, the
Got it.
students that they get. That's
What's the main ask?
So the main ask is for a longer term research project. Where they could help us on a study, something like a Northern Boulevard rezoning or. I don't know, something related to the Newtown Creek waterfront or whatever, you know, we would ideate on. Along with them to see what's of interest to us.
Just on CUNY schools, we could probably like ask like the Queensborough president's office if they have any contacts, just like, I don't know if they'll know people directly from Hunter, but they get to CUNY, then you could probably find your way there.
They have that whole committee. Don has a whole committee of college kids, in public service.
Yeah, that's a good one. And that also reminds me, we have LaGuardia here in our district, we probably have Pat Adams.
It's a good idea.
He's interested. All right, sweet. Cool, I think we have a nice list of organizations here. The other two things that we had as part of this discussion was, Kenny, I think you brought up that the New York City Civic Engagement Commission is sort of like legally mandated to be doing a lot of this stuff, but they're just not funded for it. So I wonder if we could just reach out to them and see what the latest is, and if they have any sort of resources at all right now. Is that something that you might
I'll
do?
take that on.
Yeah, all right.
It's one of my passions.
Well, that was part of the
Great.
charter commission.
Yeah,
They were all supposed to provide that service to community boards. We voted for it.
Well, yeah,
and if they don't, that might be a letter we write to Zoran's office, say, what are we doing
here
here?
we are in Queens.
Is that an agency? What is that like? Where does that fall?
It's a commission? I don't know where that is.
They just say, and was social media was public. That's the only thing I see with it.
Yeah. And then Nick had a great idea. Nick, I don't know if you're on, but you had this idea about a land use values framework that we could develop as a group. So we already sort of have this and we consistently apply like some unwritten values to each ULURP that comes across. But it might be a good idea to just write down what our sort of values and tenets are. So we have it recorded, but we should probably take that as a next step. We don't need to do it today, but I think in a future meeting, I'll carve out some time so we can just have a discussion and write down what we will.
There might also be a legacy document, because when I was chair, I asked
Oh, really?
all the committees to come up with a vision document, a mission for what the values of each committee was.
Oh, nice.
So it might exist somewhere.
Raphael, I don't know if you
Your
have access. Yeah, I don't know if you have access to the board's like email history. I don't know if this would live somewhere. If you could just try to
Take a look.
search around and.
We might ask Anatole too, because at one point there was like a shared Google Drive that, I think it might have been tech committee ran or something.
Yeah, I think the tech committee,
Oh, yeah.
as far as I remember, every committee chair was supposed to write down the mission,
Yeah.
vision, and what they had expectation and had done through the year. That could be easier to be passed to the next. person.
Right.
So that should be
So maybe,
somewhere.
maybe it's just, maybe it's a very slimmed down version of what you're asking.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, if we had something to start with, that would be great.
I'll start with.
Cool, thank you.
And I will too.
Awesome. The last thing I had on my agenda was, we got agency responses on our statement of needs. Michael, I don't know if you're on.
Sure am.
You want to give a quick 30-second summary of what that is?
Yeah, so if you remember, we in October as a board voted to approve our statement of needs, which had both a narrative component and a list of prioritized budget requests sent to agencies. And the budget process goes through stages, and the preliminary stage of the budget is sort of, I believe has just completed. So there's a preliminary budget, and as part of that, we get our first set of agency responses. We'll actually get 2 more. But we received that, and I sent it out a few days ago. With respect to land use and the requests that came in, I mean, there were lots of requests related to land use. My high-level summary would be, whenever we specifically named an affordable housing site that there's already been some discussion about, they said they supported it and can accommodate, the HPD being the they in that, the agency. There was a 1LIC asked to DCP regarding staff support for oversight related to like some of the different commitments that were made as a result of that rezoning, and they said that they supported and could accommodate. I haven't like closely scrutinized the language, but that's what they said.
They basically said it's going to be part of Julie Wan's oversight committee.
Yeah, and that they would, yeah, et cetera. And then there are a couple other things we asked for where they said they supported but cannot accommodate. And those were the Northern Boulevard and then the Roosevelt Avenue rezonings, which is something the board has asked for through multiple years of these. And they referenced the council members' Heart of the District study. And there was some sort of, I would say, there was some language around engaging with the board and engaging with the council member, but I would describe it as being kind of vague. So I would like, I think that though that one in particular was the one that felt the most actionable to me, in the sense of it seemed like there were some action items relative to like talking to DCP and talking to the council member that maybe we could discuss, but I've not like had the bandwidth to really think about that like concretely. But that's my sort of high level takeaway. There are a few other, I mean, there were lots of requests, and so I'd like to like kind of review them all and send a more structured update. But those are the sort of top of minds.
Yeah, that's a great summary. So we had 17 things that were sort of related to land use or housing, and I was overall actually pleasantly surprised at how many of them they said that they agreed with and could accommodate. I think some of them were like more general, like we said we wanted affordable housing or senior housing in our district, and they were like, yeah, thumbs up, we support that. But like, you know, will it get done is the question.
It was actually more positive than and more specific than previous years, even though.
Yeah, and it was more positive and specific than a lot of the other agency responses that I saw in that file. I think a lot of other people were like, nope, not doing it. And you know, this year for us, DCP was like, yeah, sounds like a good idea.
Wrong agency.
Yeah.
Right.
So Michael, I don't know if there's any specific response process, or at this point it's just, hey, we should just talk to DCP and the council member directly. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think you're right. Sometimes agencies will say, please contact the agency directly and promptly for more information. I think only some agencies use that language, although they don't exactly tell you how to do that, which is always interesting. But I think with us, like we have, the Queen's Planning Office who we regularly engage with, and I think we can maybe structure a conversation there. And then I think in particular the council member with regards to, because the council member funded and did a kind of extensive Heart of the District study. And so it would be interesting to understand what sort of the follow-up vision is there. Like presumably all those stickers were not put on a board for nothing. And the report written. And so it would be interesting to see what sort of the members' thoughts are. But I don't have any, at this point, I think we just need to put our heads together and think about how to have that conversation. I don't have any.
Yeah.
Think about that, like sometimes it's really the capacity, you have to pick your battle, the capacity of city planning, and city planning will tell you they don't have the wherewithal to do a zoning study of 2 neighborhoods.
Yep.
So, just pick your battles, because.
Makes sense. And for these that DCP says they can't do, these would probably be good ones for us to work with these organizations, institutions on. But Michael, why don't you and I take as a next step to just read through those 17 housing related ones a little bit more, see which ones warrant a response, and then we can bring it back to the committee, see where our votes are.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Cool. Okay, that's all that I had on my agenda. What else is on people's minds?
I have a question.
Yes, Tom.
Since we're having all this new buildings and developments, how do we guarantee that those units are really gonna be affordable? I was told by Camille that the new buildings around her in Queensboro Plaza, one bedroom apartment is in 65 and 68.
Yeah.
So how are we gonna make it affordable for those people? How do we make sure? And then I heard someone else telling me, oh, I'm in an affordable place, but I pay like almost 3,000. So how is that affordable for? the
Yeah, I mean,
average people?
I'm not the expert here, so, others also chime in, but if there's, one bedroom going for 6,000, I would imagine that that's a market rate, that's not affordable, so if that's in a new building, that building was probably built as of right. Didn't have to go through any rezoning process and didn't have to guarantee any sort of affordability to the city through MIH or another program.
But is there a way that we can allocate to like check on those numbers for affordability? Because I mean, 3,000 for an affordable.
Yeah, so for that other one, one that you mentioned, the 3,000 for affordable, I would imagine what's happening there is our area median income is so high that even the thresholds for affordability are pretty inflated and, unapproachable to working class people in New York. And there's a number of bills in the state that aim to change how the thresholds are calculated, and maybe even getting a little more restricted in area median income to reflect the incomes of the local community. I know a few years ago, Brian Barnwell had a bill like that in the Senate. So there's probably some advocacy that we could do and write a letter and support these sort of changes. But I don't know if there's any sort of enforcement. They're not doing anything illegal with those rents. That just is the way the system is set up.
Yeah, it's just that we're just gonna have so many new.
Yes, and that was,
apartments, and it's really not gonna be affordable, not even for the people that might live here.
yes.
I mean, they're pretty, there's a difference between like MIH and like 421A.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but even to check that AMIH, because I feel like, well, this is what I heard, that there's a 10% that you can take out, and then those high ones are added and divided for everyone to re-average. So if those 10 are out, then actually those affordable apartments would be really more affordable for the people in the community. Is that correct?
Can I say something about that? So, yeah, the AMIs are the AMIs, and, it's 25% or 30%, and sometimes they're averages. So those are kind of fixed and you can advocate, but a legacy issue for me is a lot of landlords won't accept Section 8, and that's an issue. Section 8, city thefts, that's the kind of stuff that someone could test. You could go into one of those high-priced buildings and say, I applied, I had a voucher, and they wouldn't accept my voucher.
That's illegal, right?
It's illegal, but they do it all the time.
But there is a housing advocate, Aaron Carr, who has done some things like this, mostly on Long Island, mostly to do with race. But he's someone who will do that in a way that then they can take legal action when they don't do the right thing.
And that's.
And he's got a great organization.
He's
Housing Rights
amazing.
Initiative.
It's actually someone we might want to have
Yeah.
come speak.
I know in our budget request, we did put in an item that was HPD inspection expansion and kind of legal services. I forget what the city said related to that, but yeah, we should have more of that in our district.
It's just to piggyback what we're talking about here is, just from my own experience and having, had my apartment illegally, deregulated before we moved in and not knowing. And when we checked with the city after we moved in, they said, no, it turned out they were getting 421, was it 421A, tax abatement, and they were supposed to keep everyone. I think about 20% since I moved in, about 20 or 25% of the apartments that were rent stabilized have fallen off for one reason or another. And I think that's something we could advocate for, which is like keeping affordable apartments affordable, rent stabilized apartments rent stabilized. And there's a lot of things that a lot of property owners and landlords do that are, if not outright illegal, questionable, that we can maybe advocate for at the state level, which is DHCR, which, you know, they're under-resourced. They probably really, I mean, I've talked to some of our elected officials and said, you know, probably should be just totally torn apart and rebuilt because it's just, it doesn't work. It's
Yeah.
not functioning. And, you know, just as an example, you know, if a tenant moves out of an apartment that's rent stabilized, they can bump it up a certain percent when it's vacant. But then they can also do some renovations and then they can bump it up more. They do not have to prove how much they spent. They just self-regulate that and say, oh, we spent $30,000 to renovate this studio apartment, and now it's gonna go up X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
But
Unless
they
you-
reduce that amount.
They did reduce it amount, but unless you file a case against the landlord, you will not, they never have to provide receipts, literal receipts of what they spent.
I am always happy to have this committee write a letter to advocate for anything. So if that's something that you're knowledgeable about, it seems like you are, and you want us to write.
Yeah,
a letter,
all right.
You want to do a draft.
All right.
take a look.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, sorry.
It's not, it's different, but on AMI, I believe that's a federal level thing. And I do believe Nydia Velasquez was in favor of that and had a bill, was on the bill or either sponsored the bill. So it is something, as we are in a new time, to be talking about as we're considering a new person in that role, but also something to think about should things change in after.
Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, just a few things on this conversation, which I think is a good one. One is on the affordable apartments that are at really high rents. I think one interesting thing is that the old state tax abatement 421A had these moderate and upper middle income options that are actually quite high. So up to 165% AMI units, which is quite high. And that expired in 2022, that wasn't renewed, but those units still exist, right? And so there are still these income restricted units and a lot of LIC, which predates the MIH rezoning, the original program. So the original LIC rezoning, the 2001 one, is kind of built with that model. And so they will have these technically subsidized or technically capital A affordable units, but they're built under the old 421A rules where they have these upper middle units. So we'll see those, but the good thing is that's not you can no longer do that. There are no longer these sort of 130% or 165% getting built now. And we do have MIH now. This came up a lot with one LIC, but now that we have MIH, we have stricter rules than the state tax credits, and the state tax rules also changed in a way that lowered the income limits. On MIH, I think to the point that we were all talking about, and again, this came up with our one LIC recommendations, we can, ULURP controls which MIH options apply. And if we prefer deeper affordability over, more units at less deep affordability, that's something we could bake into our recommendations like we did with one LIC. So I think that's one actionable thing we can think about is, prioritizing the deeper affordability, particularly in I think LIC where the market rate units are able to subsidize.
Yeah, that's a good call. And I think we generally have done that as a
I agree.
committee.
Yeah.
Something that we
could codify since we're doing it.
Stuff.
Yeah. And I think to Maury's point also, rent stabilization and destabilization was a really big issue for a while. There was a law passed in 2019 that really cracked down on the ways in which units can deregulate. So it does happen illegally. There's a pretty big law case that Letitia James is pushing against some property owners and investors in Sunnyside primarily and a few other neighborhoods where they were illegally converting. So there's actually a building on 40th Street, quite close to where I live, that was illegally deconverted, and Letitia James is pursuing legal action against the people who did it. So that totally is happening in that way. But we've seen it happen in our community, unfortunately, but there is like enforcement action, but definitely something to keep in mind. The rules to like legally deconvert though were made a lot harder in 2019. I'd be curious to know how much legal deconversion is still happening in Sunnyside, because there used to be like rules where if your rent was over a certain amount, you could deconvert, and those rules are now like gone. You can't, there's no longer this ability to have a high rent deconversion. So yeah, it would be interesting to think about what we can do as a board to try to do this. But I think we are doing a lot of good things in advocating for specific affordable housing. I think the vote we took to allow the Phipps project to have extended construction hours so that that project completes sooner, I think that was like a good thing to help with affordable housing, and maybe something we can think about going forward as like a standardizing thing when we do have publicly funded affordable housing in our community. And then the MIH options is another thing that we can use to try to shape development towards deeper affordability. Sorry for taking so long, but
No, all good, all really good context. If you have any links for us to read on some of the stuff that you mentioned, I would love to just educate.
yeah, I'll send some stuff your way. I think the 2019 law and the 421A stuff, like, it's really helpful to learn how these rules were and how they've changed, because you do see these things like Tanya mentioned, like, these housing lotteries where the income limits are kind of like mind-boggling, where it's like, why would a person who is making like 170 grand be entering a housing lottery? But then you learn that like that's how the rules were. So yeah, I'll try to write something up and send your way, Prameet.
Thank you. Yeah, Daniel.
I live in stabilized and my rent is over $3,000. So it doesn't mean it's less expensive. It just means it doesn't go up as much.
Yeah.
Every year. We talked about this a lot in one LIC, and I kept thinking, yeah, and I still pay a lot of money, even though it's unfortunate to stabilized.
Yeah.
And I'll just chime in and just very quickly say that even though there are all these rules where they have made it more difficult and better, the HSPTA or TPA in 2019, a lot of landlords are still sloppy paperwork, forgetting to list it, forgetting to send in the forms, or when they send in the forms with an older rent or a rent that was higher. So there's a lot of funny business that happens that it's just not getting enforced. And because, especially in areas that are gentrifying, you have a lot of turnover. So when you have a lot of turnover, there's no history. So people don't realize if they're only going to stay for a couple of years because they're transient. And then after a few years, we've seen it with at least a half a dozen apartments just in our building alone.
Yeah.
I just wanted to segue and not get deep into it because it's also a small business issue. But just to put on the radar that we're very likely, and we're starting to see in rural drips and dribbles, to see a fair amount of displacement of local small businesses. And so it's just something, and it doesn't lend itself well to the regulatory aspects that residential does, but it's something that should be on our radar and start looking at and tracking.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it would be a great. I'd love to get a graduate, to have that, a study of sort of what's happening to business.
That could be an interesting study. That we-
Either in
Yeah.
specific parts of this district or district wide. And get some, maybe 10 and, would be a good place to look at that, because it's certainly not something that the city is prioritizing now. They're pushed to just build.
There is a commercial rent regulation bill in the state this year. That may go through.
Maybe we can
Yeah, if we like it, I'm gonna advocate for it, so.
Send you, but I don't know enough to know.
Yeah.
if it sounds or not.
Yeah, Kenny, why don't we make you the small business expert on this committee? And if there's something you think we should advocate for, let us know and we can review it.
And then it's something that we should talk about in
in the small business committee next week.
A lot of small businesses are gonna be displaced when buildings are torn down. So we're not talking about storefronts. We're talking about industrial buildings that have small businesses working in them. And as they get torn down, they're all gonna be displaced. So,
And there's a lot of lip service paid to that, and but they, nothing, same way that nothing really entered into the final plan for the arts and artisans. Same fate for small business.
Right, so if someone were to do a study now, they would know all the businesses that are there because they're still in these buildings, right?
Mhm.
And then as the buildings get torn down, you'd see where they go. Be so cool to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a little website with it.
Cool, really good discussions. Anything else that we should touch on? Yes, I know.
Sorry. So sort of to that point, but not exactly. The Key Foods in LIC seems to have closed.
Yes.
So I would just like to point out that that's one less grocery store.
Are you talking about
On
Crush and Save on Stillman?
No,
No.
Key Food.
Key Foods,
No,
all I
Food.
say, I don't care about this place.
Oh.
Yeah,
Near Murray Park.
yeah, and I'm not,
Oh.
I know they didn't often have quantities and it was a difficult place to shop, but actually it was the closest grocery store to my house.
Oh, really?
So like, it's just a continuing problem and we're gonna just have more people with less, like Trader Joe's is great, but it's not a grocery store in that way.
Right.
Danielle, if you can think of anything specific to advocate for related to grocery stores, let us know and we can.
Grocery
do
stores
that.
are my thing. So yes. Stores and grocery stores, yes.
So that, I've heard that Key Food is really like the urban market and the dumb box.
So when
And
I lived
then
in
they're
Manhattan,
getting
there was a Key Food
restructured.
that was like the best thing that ever happened in Lower Manhattan. And then I got to Queens and they're not so nice.
It's because it's like a franchise.
Yeah.
It's like owned by someone
Probably.
specific, as
But-
opposed to like a chain.
But I mean, honestly, like during COVID, that was the only grocery store. I mean, I guess I could go to Food Cellar too, but it's expensive and has its issues. Like, it was really the only basic grocery store I could go to during.
Well, like the grocery, it was a grocery store where you could find most of what you would expect to find.
And not buy, seaweed and the things I buy in Trader Joe's or fancy cheese and so.
All right, anything else on people's minds before we break? We got a long list of action items. This is nice. Yes, Lisa.
So, so given them a week, there are all these boxes in the office with land use information. And I highly suggest that someone go in there
I mean,
And-
here or in your office?
here.
Oh.
All the boxes that are, all the boxes, not in my office, but all the boxes that are here, they're important documents. And
Yeah.
I've never sorted through them, but somebody might wanna
I
organize that.
Wonder if, Michael, this might be interesting for, the finance committee to do, is should we finance a digitization exercise for everything in the office? It will take a long time and a lot of money, but I think it would be worthwhile.
There's people who do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to talk with the executive committee about what, and also just learn a little bit more about what's happening. But yeah, it doesn't seem like a good idea to me to have so many paper records. I think there was like flooding.
Especially when there was a flood, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's non-trivial risk if we don't kind of store this stuff
All
properly.
right, I'm gonna assign that to you, Michael, to talk with the executive committee about that.
All right. Well,
Thanks for bringing that up, Lisa. That's a good idea.
Yeah, like O'Connor Capital Partners, like in everything that went on in that rezoning. I mean, maybe you wanna get on their tail. But
Well, yeah, I mean, I actually have a lot of that information on digitized already.
Cool. Anything else on people's minds?
I was just gonna say for my environment committee members, I know we have another meeting next week. I promise to keep it to an hour, even though it's a long agenda. So please come.
okay.
You said
Yes, next Thursday.
Good stuff.
You raised the bar here.
We were at an hour 15, so.
That's
we
pretty
might
short.
be an hour.
Usually that's normal, but I got places to be. So.
All right, thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining.
Just wanted to say thank you to everyone. Members of my team will follow up directly with you all. So I'm usually at the transportation subcommittee and
Good.
thank
Take care.
you. Bye.
Thanks, Teresa.
Lisa, we're gonna miss you.
Well, Lisa,
Well, no, it's so fine,